Bible in a Year, the Message Version, March 10, Numbers chapter 14, verse 1 through chapter 15, verse 16. The whole community was in an uproar, wailing all night long. All the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The entire community was in on it. Why didn't we die in Egypt or in the wilderness? Why has God brought us to this country to kill us? Our wives and children are about to become plunder. Why don't we just head back to Egypt? And right now? Soon they were all saying it to one another. Let's pick a new leader. Let's head back to Egypt. Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in front of the entire community, gathered in emergency session. Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, members of the scouting party, ripped their clothes and addressed the assembled people of Israel. The land we walked through and scouted out is a very good land, very good indeed. If God is pleased with us, He will lead us into that land, a land that flows, as they say, with milk and honey. And He'll give it to us. Just don't rebel against God, and don't be afraid of those people. Why, we'll have them for lunch. They have no protection, and God is on our side. Don't be afraid of them. But up in arms now, the entire community was talking of hurling stones at them. Just then, the bright glory of God appeared at the tent of meeting. Every Israelite saw it. God said to Moses, "How long will these people treat me like dirt? How long will they refuse to trust me? And with all these signs I've done among them, I've had enough. I'm going to hit them with a plague and kill them. But I'll make you into a nation bigger and stronger than they ever were." But Moses said to God, "The Egyptians are going to hear about this. You delivered the people from Egypt with a great show of strength, and now this? The Egyptians will tell everyone. They've already heard that you are God, that you are on the side of these people, that you are present among them, and they see you with their own eyes in your cloud that hovers over them, and in the pillar of cloud that leads them by day, and the pillar of fire at night. If you kill this entire people in one stroke, all the nations that have heard what has been going on will say, 'Since God couldn't get these people into the land which He had promised to them, He slaughtered them out in the wilderness.' Now please, let the power of the Master expand, enlarge itself greatly among the lines you have laid out earlier when you said, 'God, slow to get angry and huge in loyal love, forgiving iniquity and rebellion and sin, still never just whitewashing sin, but extending the fallout of parent sin to children into the third, even fourth generation. Please forgive the wrongdoing of this people out of the extravagance of your loyal love, just as all along from the time they left Egypt you have been forgiving this people." God said, "I forgive them, honoring your words. But as I live and as the glory of God fills the whole earth, not a single person of those who saw my glory saw the miracle signs I did in Egypt and the wilderness, and who have tested me over and over and over again, turning a deaf ear to me. Not one of them will set eyes on the land I have so solemnly promised to their ancestors. No one who has treated me with such repeated contempt will see it. But my servant Caleb, this is a different story. He has a different spirit. He follows me passionately. I'll bring him into the land that he scouted, and his children will inherit it. Since the Amalekites and Canaanites are so well established in the valleys, for right now change course and head back into the wilderness, following the route to the Red Sea. God spoke to Moses and Aaron, "How long is this going to go on? All this grumbling against me by this evil-infested community. I've had my fill of complaints from these grumbling Israelites. Tell them, as I live, God's decree. Here's what I'm going to do. Your corpses are going to litter the wilderness, every one of you 20 years and older who have counted in the census. This whole generation of grumblers and grousers. Not one of you will enter the land and make your home there, the firmly and solemnly promised land, except for Caleb's son, Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. Your children, the very ones that you said would be taken for plunder, I'll bring in to enjoy the land you rejected, while your corpses will be rotting in the wilderness. These children of yours will live as shepherds in the wilderness for 40 years, living with the fallout of your whoring unfaithfulness until the last of your generation lies a corpse in the wilderness. You scouted out the land for 40 days. Your punishment will be a year for each day, 40-year sentence to serve for your sins, a long schooling in my displeasure. I, God, have spoken. I will most certainly carry out these things against this entire evil-infested community which has banded together against me. In this wilderness they will come to their end. There they will die. So it happened that the men Moses sent to scout out the land returned to circulate false rumors about the land, causing the entire community to grumble against Moses. All these men died. Having spread false rumors of the land, they died in a plague, confronted by God. Only Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, were left alive of the men who were to scout out the land. When Moses told all of this to the people of Israel, they mourned long and hard. But early the next morning they started out for the high hill country, saying, "We're here, we're ready. Let's go up and attack the land that God promised us. We sinned, but now we're ready." But Moses said, "Why are you crossing God's command yet again? This won't work. Don't attack. God isn't with you in this. You'll be beaten badly by your enemies. The Amalekites and the Canaanites are ready for you, and they'll kill you because you have left off obediently following God. God is not going to be with you in this." But they went anyway. Recklessly and arrogantly they climbed to the high hill country. But the chest of the covenant and Moses didn't budge from the camp. The Amalekites and the Canaanites who lived in the hill country came out of the hills and attacked and beat them, a route all the way down to Hormah. God spoke to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel. Tell them, when you enter your homeland that I am giving to you, and sacrifice a fire gift to God, a whole burnt offering, or a sacrifice from the herd or flock, for a vow offering or a freewill offering at one of the appointed feasts, as a pleasing fragrance for God, the one bringing the offering shall present to God a grain offering of 2 quarts of fine flour mixed with a quart of oil. With each lamb, for the whole burnt offering or other sacrifice, prepare a quart of oil and a quart of wine as a drink offering. For a ram, prepare a grain offering of 4 quarts of fine flour mixed with 1¼ quarts of oil and 1¼ quarts of wine as a drink offering. Present it as a pleasing fragrance to God. When you prepare a young bull as a whole burnt offering or sacrifice for a special vow or a peace offering to God, bring with the bull a grain offering of 6 quarts of fine flour and 2 quarts of oil. Also bring 2 quarts of wine as a drink offering. It will be a fire gift, a pleasing fragrance to God. Each bull or ram, each lamb or young goat is to be prepared in the same way. Carry out this procedure for each one, no matter how many you have to prepare. Every native-born Israelite is to follow this procedure when he brings a fire gift as a pleasing fragrance to God. In future generations, when a foreigner or visitor living at length among you presents a fire gift as a pleasing fragrance to God, the same procedures must be followed. The community has the same rules for you and the foreigner living among you. This is the regular rule for future generations. You and the foreigner are the same before God. The same laws and regulations apply to both of you and the foreigner who lives with you. Mark chapter 14, verse 53 through verse 72. They led Jesus to the chief priests, where the high priests, religious leaders, and scholars had gathered together. Peter followed at a safe distance until they got to the chief priest's courtyard, where he mingled with the servants and warmed himself at the fire. The high priest, conspiring with the Jewish council, looked high and low for evidence against Jesus by which they could sentence him to death. They found nothing. Plenty of people were willing to bring in false charges, but nothing added up, and they ended up canceling each other out. Then a few of them stood up and lied. "We heard him say, 'I'm going to tear down this temple, built by hard labor, and in 3 days build another without lifting a hand.'" But even they couldn't agree exactly. In the middle of this, the chief priest stood up and asked Jesus, "What do you have to say to the accusations?" Jesus was silent. He said nothing. The chief priest tried again, this time asking, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed?" Jesus said, "Yes, I am. And you'll see it yourself, the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Mighty One, arriving on the clouds of heaven." The chief priest lost his temper. Ripping his clothes, he yelled, "Did you hear that? After that, do we need witnesses? You heard the blasphemy. Are you going to stand for it?" They condemned him, one and all. The sentence, death. Some of them started spitting at him. They blindfolded his eyes, then hit him, saying, "Who hit you? Prophesy." The guards, punching and slapping, took him away. While all this was going on, Peter was down in the courtyard. One of the chief priest's servant girls came in and, seeing Peter warming himself there, looked hard at him and said, "You were with the Nazarene, Jesus." He denied it. "I don't know what you're talking about." He went out on the porch. A rooster crowed. The girl spotted him and began telling the people standing around, "He's one of them. He denied it again." After a little while, the bystanders brought it up again. "You've got to be one of them. You've got Galilean written all over you." Now Peter got really nervous and swore, "I never laid eyes on the man you're talking about." Just then the rooster crowed a second time. Peter remembered how Jesus had said, "Before a rooster crows twice, you'll deny me 3 times." He collapsed in tears. Psalm chapter 53, verse 1 through verse 6, a David psalm. "Bilious and bloated," they gasp. "God is gone. It's poison gas. They foul themselves. They poison rivers and skies. Thistles are their cash crop." God sticks his head out of heaven. He looks around. He's looking for someone not stupid. One man even, God expectant, just one God-ready woman. He comes up empty, a string of zeros, useless, unshepherded sheep, taking turns pretending to be shepherd. The 99 follow the one. Don't they know anything? All these pretenders? Don't they know they can't get away with this? Treating people like a fast food meal over which they're too busy to pray? Night is coming for them, and nightmare, a nightmare they'll never wake up from. God will make hash of these squatters, sending them packing for good. Is there anyone around to save Israel? God turns life around. Turned around Jacob, skips rope. Turned around Israel, sings laughter. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 4. A thick bankroll is no help when life falls apart, but a principled life can stand up to the worst. This was the reading for March 10.